Hi, and welcome to the weekly woo from October 13th to October 19th. This week is very, very busy. We do have one day of no aspects, but is it going to slow down the energy? Not at all, not even close. So I'm going to start out with quickly the ingression. So that means when a planet changes signs, it moves into the next sign, and the overshadowing. So October 13th, we have Venus entering home sign of Libra. It loves it here. It's smooth here. It functions well here. It operates well here. It's in its home sign. It flourishes here, okay? And so Venus is all about our relationships, our partnerships, love, romance. It's about our values and our personal value systems, our value structures. I like to include the health with the planet of Venus because to me, health is a very, very fine thing in life. And Venus loves and likes the fine things in life. That includes possessions, money, finances, tangible areas, tangible assets, etc. Okay? And it moves into Libra. Libra is an air sign, so that is going to take on the flavor of communication and love and harmony, balance. It can also include legal and law matters. So it could be court documents, those kind of things, court sessions, those type of things. And it can also include helpers, looking for helpers, practitioners, those types of things, aesthetics, design, art, beauty, okay? Venus is always, always, always about love, beauty, art, and money, essentially. So it flows very well here. And again, that's October 13th. And other than that, we do not have any other ingressions, but I will just make a quick mention of our overshadowing larger energies. And so that would start out with our retrograde planets. So we have Saturn retrograde, and that's back into Pisces. So just remember, it's dipping back into Pisces for the very last time. It's doing its final transit, final couple months in Pisces. And after it leaves Pisces, remember, it will not be back in Pisces for about another 28 to 30 years. So is that significant? Yes, it is. And remember, the North Node is also in Pisces, so it does impact it. They're kind of holding hands, traveling through that sign together. Neptune is retrograde in Aries. Uranus is retrograde in Gemini. Chiron is not a planet, it's an asteroid, but she is retrograde and in the sign of Aries. And something else I want to point out about Chiron, it's got a 50 to a 51-year return orbit time. So every 50 to 51 years, it will come back to where it left off. So that would be in your birth chart. Okay, just a notation. So this week, it really reminds me of, you know what, we're going to catch a break here this week. There is 4 trines going on this week, which is absolutely spectacular energy upon us. We haven't seen 4 trines in a very, very long time. So trines are good. They're auspicious. They're good luck. It's sweet. It's flowing energy. So those are the best of the best on the astrology charts for as far as aspects go. But it is a mixed bag because we do have a square and we do have some oppositions on hand as well. So those are the trouble spots, the problem areas, the issues, those kind of things being pulled in 2 different directions. It can be conflict. It can be arguments, right? It can be being pulled in 2 different directions, like the tug of war energy is kind of essentially what I mean. Being pulled in 2 different directions, like you need to go one way, but I feel like I need to go the other way, or there's just not enough of you to go around. There's that too. So, and also I will mention too, in the overshadowing larger energies, is we are still in the post-shadow eclipse season. So what does that mean? Eclipses are about non-negotiable change that happen in life, meaning you have absolutely nothing to say about it. The only option and thing you have to do, the only choice you do have is how you react or how you respond. What are you going to do with it? Eclipses come into eclipse in or out, people, places, things, stuff. And normally when these eclipse energies set in, which is twice a year, it tends to be permanent in change, right? Permanency. So it would mean these changes can be small, medium, large. And so an example, this is an extreme example, and I say this one all the time, is like on a total lunar full moon eclipse, I actually did see somebody's house burn down. So that's extreme. That's a very, very huge life change. But that particular example, it become permanent. That house is gone. We have to rebuild something new, right? So it's a trajectory shift. It realigns you and me and everybody else with our destined path in life, right? And that's about it for the overshadowing energies. So this week, when I look at this calendar, it's very all over the place. It's very similar to last week, except we have a lot better opportunity and a few good things or auspicious, sweet flowing aspects with it. So it's very busy. We are boxed in by pretty much an opposition. We have a square. So we're boxed in by opposition. Every time you see opposition, it means it's a problem, okay? Opposition means a problem. It's a conflict. It can be argue. It can be fighting, opposing views, pulled into directions, tug of war. It's conflict. So that's on both ends. But this week we're boxed in by trines, and we have trines midweek as well. So it's a push-pull. We have good, we have tough, challenged. So do stay very, very hyper focused on the good to make sure you take and absorb and jump on as many opportunities as possible that are going to come across your path. So this week, I would say, it's got its challenges, but if you hit the right days, I said to people, you know what? Your boss is going to have a sense of humor. The banker's going to have a sense of humor. It's a very persuasive week, meaning you can ask and you can get what you want, okay? So I will just mention our best days. Our best days, meaning these are the days that the trines fall on, is going to be October 14th, 18th, and 19th. Our hardest, toughest days are going to be the 13th and the 17th. So remember, we're boxed in by tough, challenging, but we're also boxed in by beautiful, sweet deal, smooth flowing, auspicious, good luck trines, okay? So do take advantage. I like to refer to it as kind of the diamond in the rough a week. You really have to pay attention for it to find it. And I just stay very, very focused, because lots of times it can be those couple things throughout the week that cheese us off or puts us in a bad mood, or negative energy flows. And when you're so focused on the negative, you actually totally miss anything positive that comes across your path because you're not paying attention. So stay hyper focused on the positive and things going on. So pick your battles and basically avoid engaging, because it's not going to take you any place good. So first of all, when we hop off here, we are going to be looking at quite possibly an eroding away, dissolution or dissolving energy. So what does that mean? It means something in life is going to start taking shape where it's going to start losing its shape, or losing its contract, or going to be falling away, slipping away. A good example of a dissolution energy would be a divorce. Okay, so, and not that it's going to pertain to you, but that's that kind of energy. Or the dissolution of a corporation. It's eventually coming, it's fading away into nothing, where it's dissolved into nothing, and you basically start over. Okay, so, or it can be arguments, right? Or it can be addiction problems. So this particular aspect, what I'm looking at on the 13th, could involve relationships, and it can involve people with drug addictions, or any type of addiction. An addiction is an addiction is an addiction. Addiction, so it could be sex addiction, it could be alcohol addiction, it could be drugs, it could be a mix of both. Remember, sex is an addiction, pornography is an addiction, and there can be the workaholic addiction as well. So apply it accordingly. That's a different story for everyone. And it can be also a difference in views and opinions and how you see things. And so that can also mean, it can also mean like rose-colored glasses or head in the sand. Like, for example, not that this pertains to anybody, but it's just an explanation. So, if you had a partner or a relationship, and this can be business, professional, personal, romantic. If you had a partner, for example, who had a drug and alcohol addiction problem, you can see it clearly. But if you were to bring it up to that person, the fight would be on, because it's called the rose-colored glasses, the head in the sand. Okay, so Neptune is fogginess. It's not seeing clear. It's not understanding clearly, or it's just complete denial, right? Living in denial. That's another thing. So apply that accordingly. So those are the kind of things that we're going to be looking at. And so Venus, with that kind of Neptunian energy, can also involve money, finances, and it can definitely impact the relationships or partnerships involved, tangible assets, beauty, art, any sort of thing. Beauty could be like the makeup artist to the person who rentals and does the painting and redecorating your house, anything like that. It creates a problem. It creates a polarization, right? And if this isn't public, or if it isn't like external fighting, it can be internal conflict within. Feeling, no one sees this, it's personal, right? But I mean, you feel like, I should be over here, but I should be over there. Pulled in two different directions, or being spread way too thin in life, doing too much. Okay, so that can also be, land. And I just like to mention the oppositions, and that's what I just finished talking about, because it's very, very, very influential this week. And this is how we're going to start off the week. We're boxed in with this, okay? And the other thing is, towards the end of the week, that's going to be a very highlighted energy too, is the Sun opposition Chiron. Again, that same sort of opposition like I discussed with the Neptunian energy, except this is going to shed some focus and highlight, like have a spotlight on the hurts and wounds. It's going to be old hurts, old wounds. It's going to be those sore spots in life that have been going on probably for, I'm going to say, definitely years, but probably decades. Okay, so there's going to be something coming up there that needs some work. So when I talk about the hurts and wounds, the sore spots in life, what I'm talking about is physical hurts. It's illness, physical problems with the body, illness, disease, those kind of things. And it also covers mental and emotional traumas, like physical body traumas as well, but emotional, mental traumas, problems, depression, mental imbalances, mental problems, those kind of things. And when you look at the Chiron, it's always the sore spot. So that's always those deep seated areas in our life that lots of times people just avoid or pretend it didn't happen. But it's taking a look into those hurtful areas that can also include money and finances. So I'm going to say for a large portion of people who are listening, this is definitely going to relate to money, finances, possessions, and assets. I say that because Venus and Chiron are definitely crossing over in a double amplified way, because Chiron can also involve, like I said, the financial and money hurts in life, the sore spot. So big debt, making loan payments. Maybe you're having problems making loan payments, those kind of things. So it's something like that. And so our good energies is basically with the North Node has got lots going on. So what does that mean? That means our destined fated areas, and it's got some really, really, really good strokes of luck. It's like, I finally catch a break, right? And this is also the reconstruction, the reconfiguration of the future plans or the destiny plans ahead. And so I would really kind of say that as kind of a theme for this whole week. It's very, very opportunistic, but you got to start getting rid of the crap or the garbage or the gunk that's kind of holding you back. When I looked at this week, I kind of looked at it and kind of had a chuckle, because the first thing that popped into my head was like, you know what? If you lost your job or you got fired or laid off, and then all of a sudden you won the lottery, so who gives a shit, right? It's a good thing. So do me a favor, and then in the end, it would be like if you lost your job, got laid off, you won the lottery, well, your job no longer matters, but at the same token, you'd probably get a severance package payout because of what happened. It's one of those weird weeks where every hurdle or problem that happens, you kind of come out smelling like a rose if you channel the energy right. So that's why I say pay attention, okay? So it's pretty cool that way. What else do we have going on here? So with that being said, it is full of opportunity. I'm just going through my list, looking at it, make sure I didn't miss anything. So our main governing planet this week, for the most part, it's two, but the main one's going to be Venus, is going to be governing this particular week. So what does that mean? And the sun's going to be second in command. And we have, some other planets that are fairly active, but I'll get to those as we come across them. So number one is going to be Venus. So this is going to cover areas of, again, love. It's going to be relationships, partnerships, and finding that energetic balance, sharing, caring, cooperative, those kind of things, harmony, balance. It can be very beauty related as well. So you might have some beauty interest or doing artsy things, those kind of things. But it's going to be very relationship, partnership focused. And so this can also be about important or very valued females in life. So Venus is always about the feminine, it's about the female. So that can mean mom, that can mean a girlfriend, that can be a very, very important female in life. So apply that accordingly. That's a different story for everyone. And the biggest thing here is probably going to be your values, your personal value structures and systems. So this is probably going to be a little bit challenged this week, where someone cheeses you off. And all of a sudden you just decide, why am I putting up with this? I deserve better. And at that point in time, that's when your whole life will take a total trajectory shift. So your value, like the value systems, whether it's with people or money or however, that's very on the table for viewing this week. And so next in command is going to be the sun. So this is about your self-interests. So whenever I see that, that is about those things those topics, those energies, those self-interests, those things that spark the soul within. This can also fall around the masculine energy. So this can involve men, but for the most part, this would definitely refer to a father or a father figure in your life, okay? Or it can represent people who represent authority. So it could be leaders, could be teachers, could be anybody who would be an authority figure. They could even be parents or grandparents for that matter. So that's very highlighted here. And basically, this can be, if I was to describe that particular combination with these two planets, that could be saying somebody should tell you you should take an interest and you should be doing this, but deep down, you got no interest. You can't be bothered. So that's where the tension would come in with, just as an example. Okay, moving on. So I'm just going to describe some house energies for these particular planets that are involved. And so these are going to be the highlighted areas for this particular week. So money, finances, and your financial worth and your self-worth. It could be expenses, and it could be budgeting, major purchases, your income, sustainability, and your savings. This also can hover around the environment in the earth. So anything to do, and that can be global. Remember when I talk about this, this can be personal to global. You're on the planet, you count. There's no one exempt from this. And about building things, security, again, our values, value systems, assets, possessions. So we talk about the second house, that's the money possessions house, and how you make money, where you make money. It could be your job, something like that. And it's also going to take in the seventh house. And this is hugely, hugely amplified because we not only have an active Venus, but we have a very active energy of Libra because we are in Libra season, right? Sun's in Libra, Venus is in Libra. And so that's going to be take on relationships and practitioners, helpers, aesthetics and design, art, beauty, agreements and contracts, okay? So that can be clients, it could be customers, it can be customer relations, and public relations. And remember, relationship always falls back to relationship with self. So if this is not a relationship external to you, that will be your relationship to self. Again, that's going to fall right back on that personal values and value systems. How do you value yourself? Is it good or is it bad, or does it need some work? Does it need some tweaking? Does it need some upgrading? Does it need some reconstruction? Probably. You know, we all do that. As we get older, things change, and so do our values and value systems. As we get older, we tend to lose tolerance for things that are not acceptable, right? And so also remember that the seventh house is an air house. So this can also involve communications. This can also involve legal matters, right? Libra rules the seventh house as well as Venus. So it can be communications. You can be talking about air travel, booking air travel, taking a flight, or you might be just planning something later on, or it can have issues within air travel or airplanes or jets or hiccups or problems or having to rebook anything to do with flights or air travel, okay? All right. And then this can also take in your children. So I'm talking about the fifth house. That's ruled by the sun. It's also the house ruled by Leo. So this can involve children, grandchildren, creative expression. So that can be writing, that can be painting, that can be art, anything that would be considered creative expression, poetry, writing music, writing songs. Creative projects, creativity, hobbies, and, having fun, and also gambling can be included in this house. Having fun, doing fun things, or maybe you need to take more fun time because you might have the workaholic problem thing going on, which is going to be highlighted at the beginning of this week. This can also involve leadership, taking over the leadership reins, or being the leadership, or taking the reins and being the leader of your own life, being the leadership of your own life. If you're having an imbalance with a partner, like a dominating problem, this can very much be a highlighted week where you say, you know what, that's enough. And you know what, you do you, I'll do me. It's not a power control struggle, right? It can also be being seen on a more public level. So instead of just being at home, you might be seen on a more public level, meaning you're maybe your current town, your city, being known on a more global scale, being seen on a more public realm or platform, okay? That can include social media platforms as well. Romance, falling in love. And the fifth house is also about sex, and it's also about procreation. So the other thing I would recommend here, if the pregnancy or you're not wanting a pregnancy, is to be very, very careful, because this can be a bit of a fertile week. And it's also the bucket list house, and it's also the house of good luck, right? So that's always kind of neat. It's also the house of sports. So, maybe having fun includes sports, or maybe you need to go do some more sports to release and relieve some stressful tension in life. That might be a good thing for this week, because it's a push-pull. It's like, something stresses you or upsets you or pisses you off, and then you need to go outside for a walk or go to the gym or do something fun to release and get rid of that negative energy. And it's also about the house, about what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure, those fun things. The fifth house is a pretty cool house for the most part. There isn't always a lot of hardship that goes on, except, do not do excessive gambling, those kind of things, because that'll get you in trouble. Okay, and this is very, very highlighted in the 12th house too. And why do I say that? Because it's not like we're overly active with Neptune or nothing, but we have a very active North Node. And in the North Node area, we do have quite a few good things going on with the North Node, trines, etc. So the North Node is about your destined, fated path. It's the Dharma house, meaning it's direction we're moving forward. We grow into, we're going forward. We never grow backwards, we're going forward. So that's what that means, the North Node. And so the 12th house is a water house. It's hidden and it's beneath the surface, and it's a subconscious house. It's a psychology house. There's things going on here that people don't see, right? Things going on behind the scenes. That's excessively what House 12 is known for. So it's behind the scenes, it's hidden, it's unseen. It's the dream time, dream state. It includes astral dreaming, lucid dreaming, or just dreaming, or wanting to jot down your dreams or record them, right? The subconscious mind. And it also includes the psychology, the inner work. So we were talking about that inner work, which is probably going to come up. We're going to have to look at something. And if you're avoiding evading, chances are whatever that might be, it's going to pop up this week for addressing. It's also the house of fear and addictions. And again, she's a fairly rough ride with that Neptunian opposition. So very much it can pop up things that you fear, you're worried about. And addictions of any kind can be a real problem this week. So just a heads up on that. And just respond accordingly. And do not auto-react, emotional reaction to any sort of conflict fighting, because that's going to go no place good. So remember to respond, not emotionally react. And this is also the house of past lives too. So this is always cool. If you believe in that, good, and if you don't, that's okay too. So linked to past lives, it's also generational karmic cycles coming out. It covers esoteric, occult, and spirituality. So that's always a neat, never-ending, limitless area for learning and experiencing. So that's always very cool. That's always tied with dream and dream state, and past lives, of course. And this is also the house of escapism. So not only is it addictions, again, I don't think I mentioned about the Neptunian, but the Neptunian energy is also about escapism. So escapism meaning avoiding, evading, ignoring. And escapism, there's also what they would call healthy escapism and not healthy escapism. So healthy escapism means I need to go for a walk because today's an overload. Unhealthy I'm going to drink till I'm drunk and pass out, and that's what they would refer to unhealthy escapism. Escapism or escaping reality in either healthy or unhealthy ways. So do the math. That's not rocket science to figure out. And it's also the house of private. I need my private time. I need to be alone. It's solitude time. So maybe too much peopling this week, too many clients coming in. You need a break. You need a peace out time. You need some self time, solitude time. That's also this house. It's also the house of isolation. So isolation can be good or it can be bad. So isolation by choice would be good, would be, you know what, I need to isolate myself, have some solitude time, because I'm writing a song, or I'm writing a book, or I'm doing a project or a craft or a creative art something, but I need my own time, my own space to do it in, right? Or there's the unhealthy isolation, which means somebody is purposely trying to manipulate you into isolation. So that would be isolating you from your friends, isolating you from your family. And isolation could also include being hospitalized or in prisons or jails or orphanages, those kind of things. So you're isolated, but not by your own hand. Or, so it can be just the way it happens in society, or it can be a manipulation or a malicious energy by another isolating you. So apply that accordingly. There's both good and bad. And it's also about the house of foreign lands and foreign shores. So because we have an air house lit up, the Libra 7th, so you might be thinking about going on a trip. You might be on a trip, you might be on your way to a trip, or you might be flying somewhere this week to go visit a foreign shore or a foreign land. So that's always cool too, right? And again, the isolation thing we talked about, but this can also cover confinement. So confinement, again, basically would be hospitals, prisons, orphanages, but essentially resulting in isolation. So that will be for some people, because if you're sick, you're in a hospital, you got no choice about it. You're isolated away from your friends, your family, your house, your home, and maybe even society to a certain degree, because if you're stuck there, you're stuck there, right? Could be jail, could be prison. So that's always an interesting thing too to look at. So this, like I said, this 12th house is absolutely huge and it covers so many areas, but I like to mention them all because it's definitely going to apply to all of us in a different way. It's also the house of karma. 6 and 12 are the house of karma. So you might be having, like I said, past life, karmic repeating cycles in families. I mean, we've all had that. If you actually paid attention, it is there. And so that's resolving and fixing and dealing with karma, completing karmic cycles to move on to the next, right? This can also cover, and a lot of us will know this, is what they would call redefining yourself and your ego from the ground up. So stripping away to absolutely nothing and having to start over. So for example, a divorce is a very, very good example of that. Not that it's going to happen to you, but it proves my point or explains my point. Meaning, when you go through a divorce and you're kind of divide everything and maybe there's really nothing that's left after the division because maybe household debt, those kind of things. So really, you're being stripped down to absolutely nothing because half of nothing is nothing, and you need to start over again from scratch. So that is very, very fluent also in the 12th house. It just covers so many things. So hopefully you'll have some spiritual interest and you have some healthy escapism, and your solitude time and your isolation time will be by your choice, not forced upon you or malicious intent by somebody else. And dreams. So do pay attention to your dreams. Jot your dreams down, document your dreams. And do pay attention to the dream state messages, because they will have meaning someday. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but at some point in time it will. Okay, and on a lesser note, I'm just going to touch base on this because this will definitely apply to some. So this is going to be about the physical body: weight, wellness, illness, disease, healing, and getting on your feet back to restoring health and wellness, or it can be wanting to get the physical body in shape. This particular area will also cover the head area. Anytime you talk about Aries, the first house, especially Aries, it's always about the head. So just being careful about head traumas, taking hits to the head. It can be outside, external head, on the head, the head, the face, the ears. This will include the sinus cavities, even in behind the eyes. And so, and that can be facial reconstruction, facial beauty, maybe, lotions or oils you're trying on your face, those kind of things, to the internal part of the brain. So that also includes the brain. So it can be, tumors or anything on the head or anything going on within the head around the cranial area, that kind of stuff. So I like to put out warning. You just be careful with the head areas when you have this kind of week. It's pretty good, but it's also got its bumpiness about it, okay? And it's also known for how you're seen by others, your recognition, how you're seen on the public level, what you're recognized for, and your personal identification. So this is about me, myself, and I, and how I am and how I come across to people, what's important to me on a physical level, right? Maybe your appearance, right? Working on that hair, working on the facial, maybe it's facial reconstruction or something like that, or looking after your skin or your hair better, something like that. And it's also on how your outlook on life, so your personality, your views, those kind of things. All right, moving on. And so this can also include talking to friends and relatives, people close to you. Again, another house, the third house is also an air house, and it can be air travel. And working on personal devices, so computers, laptops, desktops, iPads, iPhones, those kind of things, and transportation, that would be basically local or local environment, not too far away from home in your city, in your town. Could be maybe the next city over, something like that. You could be working on writing and editing. And it's also modes of transportation, so mobility. So that can be scooters, that can be bicycles, that can be trucks and cars, that can be wheelchairs, anything like that. It's also covering the siblings. You might be chit-chatting with siblings and relatives. That's not parents, that's not children, that's aunts and uncles, cousins, siblings, people close to neighbor, those kind of things. People who are close to you, you have a very close relationship with. It also covers the internet, and it also covers social media platforms. So YouTube, it could be Substack, it could be any sort of like TikTok, or it can be any sort of social media platform involved. Okay, so you might be doing work, you might be watching it, and you might be thinking about getting on a social media platform, those type of things. And also, I will put warning here because we have an opposition, and that's of opinions and views and how you see things, which often can result in arguments. So I would just also give a warning, just like last week, be very careful about the gossip. Make sure you get your fact from fiction, know right from wrong, fact from fiction, before you ever engage in conversation, because that often will take you no place good as well. So something else I do want to mention is we do have an active Pluto, but it's only one aspect, but it's a trine. So that means that's a good thing going on with Pluto. It's not overly active, but it's got a really sweet deal aspect with it. And usually the planet of Pluto is known as the death planet, death and transformation. So I did want to put a little highlighted thing in here where it's got some flow. It's got some good things to it. So even though it's not overly active, it still will have that undercurrent influence this whole week, with something good for a change, right? Some good luck, some good news, something like that. So this can include taxes. This can include inheritances. It can include estates, wills, or maybe estate planning, those kind of things, or dealing with a will, dealing with an estate, but some good news about it, right? And again, this will cover mysteries, esoteric, parapsychology, psychology. This is also about big money. This can be like the Lotto house. So this is like other people's resources, those kind of things, or debts. So you might be able to pay a debt off, or maybe you might be after a loan to go buy something. So when other people's resources, or maybe somebody will just give you money, because sometimes the weirdest things can happen with this house too. So it's also a dark water house, which means it's an unseen realm. It's below the surface. So the eighth house I always like to describe as it's a lake. You know what? When a boat's floating on the lake, you can see the boat on the lake, but you can't see what's below the surface. It's all hidden. It's secret, right? And this is also the house of surgeries. So this is often where you can have surgeries done. The house of surgery, that can be public, can be private, but often this will be the place where you can have surgical procedures done where absolutely nobody knows about. So, I mean, that could, just for example, doesn't apply to anybody, but it could be procedures like plastic surgeries, those kind of things, anything to do with the facial reconstruction that you wouldn't want anybody to know about. That can also cover abortions, those kind of things. So any sort of hidden procedures or hidden surgeries that is not in public view, or you don't want someone to know, or they're secret or they're hidden. So I'd apply that accordingly. Different story for everybody. It's also a health house, right? And it also could be topics of death. So, but in a good way. So there's nothing good about a physical death but it's something we all experience, something we all go through. However, if you're dealing with that, it could be like, okay, we finally make the next stage in dealing with this death. Like, maybe the funeral arrangements are made, and then we're going forward with the estate. We're going forward with the will, or maybe we're picking out a headstone, or those kind of things, are moving forward with the estate inheritances, or making headway in anything to do with death topics. Those are just examples. And another good thing about this is, you might be doing mystical study, occult study, the tarot, the astrology, the numerology. And so you might be, taking on a course or learning those kind of things that can cover that too. And this can also be insurance payouts. So the eighth house is also about insurance. You might be purchasing insurance, or you might be having a claim that's going to pay out. That's something else that will show up. And the Pluto, that's just the eighth house. So Pluto it always represents death, transformation, regeneration, rebirth. So it's a completion of a cycle, basically moving into the next state. For example, if someone physically dies, well, the physical body dies and they transform into spirit state. That's a good example how to describe it. It's also about power control issues. It can cover resolving jealousy areas, those kind of things, resolving power control issues, maybe within relationships, personal to professional. It's always about transforming into something new, tearing down the old, bringing in something new. And I would like to say it really serves as a reality check, right? Pluto means business, and it doesn't, it can be very, very humbling. So in that case, maybe someone had a humble reality check, and it can bring reality checks at the drop of a hat. I like to refer to Pluto as kind of the wrecking ball and just the reality check, right? The wrecking ball that comes in to correct, autocorrect, the reality check. So things change, things transform. It's a planet that means business. This can also cover investments, right? So along with insurance, it covers investments. So there could be like an investment payoff too, right? Something that went really, really well in your favor. That's something else. And again, this will hover around the whole week because planet Pluto does orbit slowly. So it's got some hang time, right? All right. Okay, so that covers that part. And I'm just going to make a mention for the 11th house too, because again, like we have the outer planets that are fairly active, but not nearly as active as some of the personal planets. But the personal planets are always more active because why? Because they are closest to the Earth. When they're closest to the Earth, they have more impact on us. That's why. But again, internet, again, we have just about all the air houses lit up this week. So that would be 3, 7, 11. And so again, air travel. And so that can be air transportation that can link to jets, planes, flight paths, flight plans, and that's global, right? So I just want to mention that. So it will be very highlighted there. Either you're going someplace, you're thinking about going someplace, that can include foreign shores, or it can be local or, within your own country, those kind of things. So again, it's about inventions, about friends, friend circles, acquaintances. Again, social media is extra highlighted this particular week. Internet, social media platforms of any kind, YouTube, Substack, like I said, TikTok, anything like that. And it's also about having a community focus, right? So forming or being part of large organizations or community groups, or for the greater good of the community, the town, the city, or even the country. And it actually extends beyond into a global energy too. So that's what they would call humanitarian groups, humanitarian aid, humanitarian for the betterment of the world, the globe. Okay, so that always includes a lot of people who have a lot of interest, and there's a lot of focus. So if you're not into that, that probably will be something we'll be seeing on the news, or it will be publicly televised, or by radio, or amongst the internet, what's going on there. It's also the house of politics, go figure, right? And that's always a gong show on a global scale. And it's also the house of hopes, wishes, dreams, the 40 wishes and dreams, or the pennies from heaven. So it's also a good luck house. So we have 11 and 5 houses lit up, which is good luck and pennies from heaven. So for some of us out there, hopefully will be more than just to some of us. We'll have some good luck and some good things coming in. It's also about technology, and it's also about digital currencies too, right? Innovation, digital currency, technology. And it's also about being with like minds, like groups and associations. And really that's who we hang out with. It doesn't matter if it's like groups or our friends. There's always that common mind, that commonality, that common ground. So that's going to be very highlighted this week as well. All right, so when I look at this week too, normally I say this earlier than this point, but there's so much to talk about this week, is our plans are going to be just like last week. They're all over the map. They're all over the place. We have major challenging aspects. We have major sweet deal, really, really nice aspects this week. I think we have, we have we have 12 negative aspects, and those are not all major, so it does include those little bugger minor hiccup problem issues that create plans changing all the time. So 12 negative aspects with 4 beautiful aspects, which we didn't have any last week, so that's the bonus about this week. But do expect your plans to change on a daily basis. And it's not just going to be once, it's going to be multiple changes a day, each and every day. So be very, very flexible, be open and willing. And if you're doing things, you're going to want to start a bunch of different things probably this week, have the urge to do this, do that, do this over there, whatever. But not everything is going to work smoothly. So it's going to be similar to last week where you start something and it just doesn't work. So then you're going to have to go to plan B, maybe plan C. You're going to have to walk away and then come back to it in a day or two, and then it will flow a little bit better, right? So it can be a little bit aggravating, a little bit irritating, a little bit frustrating. But you know what? Just work with the energy. If it doesn't work, move on to plan B. That plan B doesn't work, move on to plan C, and then come back to it and revisit it throughout the week, because it will flow eventually. It's very similar to last week. And anybody's plans, whether it's work or whether it's travel, those kind of things, just expect hiccups and bumps and issues and problems and hurdles, because that's going to happen. So it's like, you know what? We have to stop, make a plan, readjust, and we go again. And so that's like that all week. So you can make pretty good mileage other than it's irritating. And so you might need that solitude time to go have some fun or do some exercise to get rid of the excess aggravating energy. And again, do not pick fights with people. We do have many sesquiquadrates going on this week, and those are what I like to refer to as the pick a fight aspect. So it's usually irritation, it's agitation, it's confusion, it's tension, and it's where the Holy Grail war can break out, especially this week because we're boxed in by opposition. That's fight-ridden, that's arguments. So choose your battles wisely, and the best choice is don't choose them at all. Walk away, because it's going to take you no place good, right? But the good thing about the challenging aspects is it brings to the table the problems, areas that need to be handled, dealt with, and acknowledged. And then from there, normally it goes in a very good direction. So that's the challenging aspects come along to push us in the right direction in life. It forces us to take note, acknowledge, deal with, and move forward. So that's how it creates growth, expansion in life, and it pushes you on your forward path. Is it a pain? Yeah. Is it annoying? Probably. Is it aggravating? Probably. And most of the time, it's really not a comfort zone or a comfortable area that needs to be dealt with most of the time, but it's necessary. It's necessary for personal growth for all of us, right? So, and really, if none of those challenging aspects came along, probably for the most of us, we'd probably all sit in a bumping along and life would never change. You would never grow. You would never evolve. You would never learn. And really, who wants that? So I always say to people when I talk to them, I say it would be like having a 12-year-old mentality in a 65-year-old body. That just doesn't work, right? So you want to evolve, you want to grow, you want to expand your horizons. And sometimes that includes interests, right? Our interests change as we get older. Our value systems change as we get older. And that's just part of life. So that's evolution, personal evolution. That's our personal journey, which is all a different path for all of us, right? Okay, so that I think covers everything I wanted to cover there, and we will be moving on. Like I said, we have 12 negative aspects. That's not all major. It does include mostly minor negative aspects, the little buggers that create havoc with our plans. But we have 4 beautiful trines. And like I said, we are boxed in by both positive and negative from end to end. So do take advantage of this week because it's got some beautiful flow. It's like one of those weeks, if you want something, go ask for it. It's very persuasive. You could talk people into anything on those prime days, which is the 14th, 18th, and 19th. So take advantage of it. And I do believe myself, I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to swing down to one of the local neighborhood stores and buy me a little $1 or $2 scratch ticket. It would be a good week for that too. Again, just don't overspend. Just something like a couple bucks if you can afford it. If not, stay away from it. Anyway, it's a catch a break week. So I'm going to flip over to the health and anatomy. And what does it have for us today? So health and anatomy. So that is going to be the areas, and we're going to be, like I said, we're governed by Venus this week. So what it's going to be covering is the throat, the chin, the cheeks, your sense of taste, kidneys, ovaries, and any and all internal reproductive organs, which would include hormone balance or hormone problems, blood circulation, and the skin. So you might be looking at, skin conditions, treating the skin, or who knows, something like that, right? And this will also take in the upper back, the sides down from your rib cage, spleen, circulatory system. It will be the male sperm and the eyes, and you're going to be looking at your general vitality and how your general state of health is. So that's going to be on the menu as well. Again, the physical body, the healing, the wellness, what can I do to make myself better or improve my health? There's those kind of things. It's also going to include the ankles, and it can include like what we call the body's electrical system. So the impulse feeling that we would go over our nerves for feeling, and sensory for the nerve system. Okay, and we are going to flip over. We're going to go study the signs. So this is also going to cover the lower back and the adrenal glands. Okay, that's a very Libra thing, and so we're hovering around with a lot of Libra energy. So, and finding balance. So again, adrenal glands would refer to stress, right? So we might need to be doing something about that. Lower back pain, lower back problems, or pulled muscles, things being out of alignment, and kidneys. So it might be kidney function, it might not be, but it can be maybe you want to clean the kidneys or cleanse the kidneys, or you might just want to drink more water to make sure the kidneys are flushed. Those types of things. Again, this is not medical advice, it's just ideas. And this is also going to take in the areas of the blood. So it might be blood quality, you might be going for blood work, okay? Anything to do with the blood, getting blood tested, any sort of results or problems or, diagnoses. And it's also about the immune system and the lymphatic system. So essentially it's the same thing, but you could be having lymph problems, lymph drainage problems, or lymph circulation problems, or it might be having an immune system problem, or a suppressed immune, or you might be enhancing your immune system. So take it as it lands. That can be positive or negative, right? It's also about toxicity, toxic water. So toxic fluid in the body. So that could be maybe being around toxic water or having toxic fluid within the body. That's possible. Viruses. This also covers the thymus gland. The next thing we will talk about, and that can include the lungs and the respiratory system, the collarbone, the hands, the arms. That will include the elbows, shoulders, and the nervous system. And again, I will touch base on the head, the face, the brain, the upper teeth. Okay, so this can also include the lower teeth, but more so it's going to be pinpointed to the upper teeth. And I would also mention about the sinuses. The sinuses in around behind the eyes. Aries is always about the head. And that can include headaches, and it can include migraines, okay? So take it as a lens. We have a lot going on. There's quite a bit that I mentioned with the anatomy, but there's so much going on. It's so active with so many signs, so much sign energy, and so many planets that it does arise all these places. And not every place in the anatomy is going to be applicable for everybody. So pick and choose. And it can be a mixed bag, right? You can have your ankles mixed with something on your skin and your face, those kind of things. So that will conclude our health and anatomy. And something else I want to point out, because we have a very active North Node, which is in the sign of Pisces. And so on a global scale, this has nothing to do with health and anatomy, but can also include gas and oil and plastics. Okay, so on a global level, can include markets, money markets, investment markets, those kind of things too. Or, plastic, cleaning of plastic, or refurbishing plastic, or refining plastic to a better quality. And when I talk about oil, that can be oil in the ground, as in a like drilling for oil, like oil patch activity, or oil prices, gas prices, but that can also include cooking oil. So ingestion. So it's kind of a global thing, but it's also an internal thing. So the quality of cooking oils, seed oils, any kind of oil, whether it's good or bad, or there might be more research or information coming out on oils that you would purchase in the store to either eat, cook with, those kind of things. And gas, that can also include not only gas at the gas pump, gas markets, gas pricing, but it can also include intestinal gas, right? It can be very, very literal, these things, right? So intestinal gas, digestion, those kind of things. Or, you might be having problems with it, and it might kind of like highlight this week, because we have opposition. So when there's going to be a problem, it's going to be highlighted this week, because we have oppositions, we have a square, we're boxed in by all of it. So that could say, you know what, all of a sudden you realize you're bloated and it's gassy and you need to do something about it, and then you find a resolution, okay? I like to mention those kind of things. And again, the Pisces is very, very, very active, and something I will mention again, it's escapism, it's rose-colored glasses, head in the sand, not seeing things clearly. It's very, very foggy energy. That's on the negative, right? It's addictions, and it's also about deceit, okay? It's very scattered energy. Okay, so that's the negative side of that. And I'm only saying the negative side of Pisces because it's got an opposition, which is a negative aspect. But it can be, and it's got some trines with it. So the good part about it, it's very, very creative. It's inspired. It's very, very intuitive, right? It's very compassionate. It's a sympathetic. It's an empath energy. And very, very artsy, right? And the other thing too, I will just mention with this is no healthy boundaries. Remember, Pisces is a water sign, and so it might be developing healthy boundaries, as in mind your own business. When we talk about water, water is fluid, and water is fluid. It can seep into places it doesn't belong. So you can see it running under the door. You can see it running under the wall where it's not supposed to be. Well, that's energetic as well. So when you have a lot of Pisces energy and aspected negatively, that's when you'll have people who have no healthy, respectable boundaries with energy, and they could be poking their nose into your business or other people's business. And I'm just mentioning this because it's a fight energy this week. That can be very, very elevated, or someone poking the stick because they can't mind their own business. So just keep an eye open for that and have an awareness and respond accordingly. Okay. So I think for the most part, that should wrap up our weekly. Like I said, it's busy. Plans are continuously changing. There's going to be some problems that show up and some, disagreements or, that internal conflict. But there's some really, really, really good energy to jump on this week. So do your best to just walk away from drama that does not belong to you, or issues or problems. Don't engage in conflicts. That's going to go no place good. Focus on the positive, because there is so much to be achieved or conquered or gotten here. It's very persuasive, very good luck, good energy, smooth flowing energy. Okay, so take advantage of that. And right now we don't have any personal planets retrograde. We're not in the pre-shadow yet, and so that's very, very good. It's very forward moving, it's very flowing, but as much as I say it's flowing, it's still got its hurdles because of those little bugger minor aspects that constantly shake things up, give us hurdles and problems where we have to change our plans. So again, be light on your feet, be flexible, and you should work out just fine this week. So that will conclude our weekly. So until we talk again, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and maybe make it a pay it forward week. Because you know what? If you give to others, it always comes back in tenfold to you. It's that endless cycle. But you give, you always come back. It comes back to you in a tenfold way. Bye for now.